Hello. It says I'm live. And I'm just waiting to see if people see me and for Chelsea to join. Hi, Weeby Kids and Danny. I'm assuming it's Danny. Hello, people who are joining. It's awesome to have you here. I'm just waiting for Chelsea to sign in. But if you want to leave a comment and let me know where you are in the world, that would be awesome. And Chelsea's just about to join. All right. Thanks for all the waves. We've got, hi, Chelsea.
Hello.
We've got a handful of people who are joining us and who are saying hi and waving. So I've been saying hi back while we've been waiting for you to join. But welcome to this
Oh,
live
perfect.
stream.
Hi,
See,
everyone.
yeah, can you see their comments coming up?
Yes, from Portugal. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we've got a good group here. So I see
Pennsylvania.
Sweden, Portugal, Massachusetts,
Oh.
Pennsylvania.
Hi,
This is
Marianne.
awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for being here with us. So my name's Kaylin and I run Forest Schools. And I wanted to invite my sister Chelsea on for a live stream to we kind of just wanted to have a fun chat about something that connects us all wherever we may be in the world, just as humans, connects us all together. So we decided to call this live stream Play is What Makes Us Human. um, Chelsea and I have been working together actually more recently, collaborating on different projects and just getting the chance to have really cool discussions. And we've actually been supporting people who are working towards diversity and equity, inclusion, these sort of big things that people are focusing on, really important things focusing on in their work.
Mhm.
And as part of that, it's really looking into all the differences that we have, which is so important to acknowledge and make space for. But we also wanted to make space to think about all the things that we have in common too. And really, we were thinking like play is a common denominator.
Mhm.
And me personally, having lived in lots of different places around the world, realizing like no matter where you are, in particular, children play the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of context for this call today. Did you want to
Yeah.
say anything, Chelsea? Say hi or any introductions?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Super cool. It's my first time doing a live, so I feel like I'm a cool teen or something trying to keep up the technology. But yeah, Kaylin, I don't know if you all know Kaylin. She lives in Canada now. I live in Salem, Oregon. So although our environments may look different, definitely have a great affinity for the outdoors and super fortunate and lucky to live in such a beautiful state that has so much access and resources to some outdoor spaces and places. So I love that, where I guess anywhere that I've lived, it's always been a great location for just outdoor play. There's always been something enjoyable to do, and I look forward to talking about that and just talk about kind of our childhood and how we've translated play from kids to teens and then in betweens and to now being adults and how play still is a part of our life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it never ends.
No, it really
Yeah,
doesn't. Especially when you have
yeah.
kids in the mix. It's crazy how the outdoors really be, a cheapish way to entertain the
Yeah,
young
totally. So as those of us or those of you who are with us, and even if you're watching this recording later, if you want to leave comments, as we're talking about stuff, if there's anything that really connects with a memory that you have, or even with your own children, or if you work with in an education setting with children, and there's things that are connecting for you, we would just love to have this as much as we can have like a conversation with those who are here.
Amazing.
Um, Type us comments and we'll try to keep track as much as we can about memories that are coming up for you, or if you do have questions for us as well. We'd love to hear from you. So let's make this interactive if we can.
Yeah, cool.
um, so we did want to start with our thinking about our own childhood. Chelsea and I, in our like family catch-ups on the weekend, sometimes we go back into our memories thinking about how we played as children, and it just like we just go off on tangents. We go, do you remember
Yeah.
this? And do you remember that? And so we just thought it would be cool to share those experiences with others because I feel like for those who I guess I connect with on social media, I probably have a pretty different upbringing than a lot of others, particularly around climate, because Chelsea and I did grow up in Hawaii on the Big Island, in Kailua Kona, which is famous for its coffee. Whoop, whoop. And so there's, yeah, ways like things that we interacted with, the plants there, the environment, obviously the weather had a huge impact on what we could do and wanted to do as we played. But I also see common threads no matter where I've lived.
Yeah.
So Chelsea,
yeah.
do you have something coming up for you as like a memory that sticks out for how we played outside as kids?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many, but I think sort of the first thing that pops to my mind is just us as kids. And, you know, we grew up on an acre of land, which we were very fortunate and lucky to do so. And then the way that our parents landscaped the land, there was just a lot of things to do, a lot of plants to interact with, a lot of places to try to hide in if we wanted to. So I just remember a lot of us just being outside in the backyard or in the orchards. I just remember doing a lot of like fort building kind of in our far side of the backyard away from the house and kind of away from mom and dad to make sure, you know, they couldn't catch us if we weren't supposed to be doing something.
Yeah.
Just really, you know, finding creative ways to play with what we had outside. And I don't really remember a lot of toys necessarily outside as much as us just like utilizing the rocks, the leaves, the trees, a lot of palms that had fallen down and making cool forts with that, or grinding up like a spice tree that we had and making it like a potpourri.
Yeah.
There's a lot of finding ways to entertain ourselves being outside because we didn't grow up with a lot of technology, and you know, our parents were pretty good about limiting our screen time, which would be TV time back in the day.
Yeah. Good old like actual heavy, huge TV.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's really, that sticks out in my mind. And, you know, just we were also very lucky with having views of the ocean too growing up. And I just remember just kind of always basing our day off of what the tides looked like from far away, and if we could, you know, maybe go to the beach that day and enjoy. But I think just growing up in Hawaii, we were just very lucky with having a lot of the land to utilize to enjoy outdoor play and to be creative and to just let our juices just flow without, you know, worrying about missing something on TV or, oh my gosh, we didn't get to the stopping point in our video game and now we must go back and make sure that we've saved it. So it just wasn't, you know, that crossed our minds every day.
Yeah. And I think we did have significant periods of time that we could spend outside, and I think that is the privilege of us growing up where we did have access to land that was, we were still on our own property, and so there was like safety that our parents could trust that we were still there. It's, you know, we weren't going down, we weren't like going alone to the local park as young children or anything like that. So it was relatively safe in that sense, but we had a lot of unsupervised time. And long periods of time, I guess, after school when we would come home, I remember just playing outside, and definitely on the weekends. Like we would definitely do stuff indoors as well, but it was so accessible to just go in and out. So it was like long periods of time where we would really get immersed and absorbed in whatever we were doing. And in particular, I think we were talking about this even before we came on live, but also getting the chance to like connect with the plants that we could eat.
Right. Yes.
So we were just trying to remember, because we have very strong memories of breaking into the coconuts, which is a really tough process to open up a coconut to get at the inside where you can eat the coconut meat and also drink the liquid, which is called coconut milk, even though it's, coconut water, I guess. And trying to remember, like, how did we get the coconuts down from the tree? And climbing, climbing them. And you had the memory of we would throw rocks at it to try to get them to fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays we would be telling kids, no, 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 that rock needs to stay on the ground.
Yeah, too dangerous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so definitely climbing trees. I feel like that was something that I really loved to do.
Mhm.
And building forts for sure. That was a huge one. And
Yeah.
that came up when we were putting some posts out about doing this live call together. I did ask people or invited people to share their own memories of how they played. And people from all over the world were sharing various different ways that they did as children. And in some ways, I think as we do, we do as adults too. But fort building came up quite a lot.
Yeah.
Making plant potions, which I totally remember doing with leaves, with
Mhm.
mud, with
Mhm.
berries as well. We had a mulberry bush that would dye
Yes.
our skin purple,
Yeah.
and we used to eat mulberries as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're very delicious.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of time barefoot too. So I remember whenever we
Yeah.
would walk by the mulberry tree, we would always end up with stained purple feet.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And some other people who commented said that they had memories as well of like decorating themselves with berries, different than mulberries, but still dyed their skin purple as well.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, nighttime tag was another one
Mhm.
that people mentioned, or any, capture the flag, those sort of like games that yeah, have to play in teams or,
Right.
um, yeah. Do you have memories of us doing that?
Yeah. I don't know if it was you and I necessarily, but I do remember having a sleepover one night with a friend or one weekend, and you were playing nighttime tag, but my friend misjudged where the fence was and ended up like catching her like inside lip or gum on part of the barbed wire fence. So
Oh,
that didn't end quite as well as we would have liked it to be, but just
yeah.
just the fact that we just felt so safe and didn't feel scared to be outside at
Mm,
nighttime, just because we had the roam of the land. However, we knew there weren't any creatures or any kind of predators out there that were around an
yeah.
unexpected corner or turn. And yeah, it just seemed so boundless and limitless when we were younger, just having the outdoors to enjoy, whether it was full sun out or nighttime or even when it was raining. That didn't really stop us from
Mhm.
wanting to enjoy it outside.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point that because we spent so much time in that place, it felt so familiar. Like it was just as
Hmm.
familiar as our own bedrooms or the inside of our
Right.
house. And so we knew we wouldn't need flashlights to go out at night because we knew where everything was, or we knew the paths and how to get
Yeah.
around, and it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary because it
Right.
felt like just an extension of our home in so many ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Now I
Yeah.
feel like I
So I don't
need
know
like
if this
all
is
the
what
like.
was that?
I said now I just feel like I just need light or just need as much visibility when I go outdoors. And yeah, it's funny just how much I feel like I have to be prepared when I'm outside, versus when I was a kid.
Mm,
You just didn't really think twice. You just kind of took what you could, and that was it.
yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that didn't have as much you didn't think about all the planning. It's just like just do
Exactly,
it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure being a
Yeah.
parent now is why I pack. It's not necessarily for myself, it's for the comfort of my child to make sure she has everything that she needs to enjoy the outdoors for the, time period that we'll be in.
Yeah. So maybe this is a good chance to, as part of what we wanted to talk about is, we have all these memories of how we played as children, which does come with the privilege of access to outdoor space. And childhood looks different today, just like our childhood was different from our parents' childhood, and that was different from our grandparents' childhood. Like it always keeps evolving based on how society changes and the technologies that we're exposed to and the, current events, everything
Yeah.
plays a role in that. And so definitely the way that we experienced outdoor play, I do,
Hmm.
well, I know and also feel that it is different for children today.
Right.
And we're speaking, I also want to highlight, like, we are speaking from a, like, you live in the States, I'm from the States, but live in Canada. And so we're speaking from
Hmm.
those sort of cultural contexts in
Right.
that, because I know it's not the same globally with access to technology and all of
Right.
that. So we are speaking from a particular perspective. But what are your experiences with, like, yeah, do you see similarities with your daughter now and how she plays? Or yeah, what are like the similarities and differences with kids, your daughter as well as I guess kids that you've worked with in play in the
Yeah.
outdoors?
Kids these days, well, so I used to work at the Boys and Girls Club before I had my daughter, and I think the outdoor play was definitely their source of release. So I really made it a point to get them onto the playground after school, just because you're in such a structured setting all day. Everything's such time limit. You have to be this place at this time. So I really wanted to give kids that time to release after school was done before we jumped into programming. And it was just, I don't feel like I had to always tell them, what the expectations were. It's like they just kind of knew. They still knew how to respect themselves and, respect others while, playing on a structure that needed to be shared by everybody. But I really enjoy just watching how well kids could get along with one another. Sometimes kids just wanted to be on their own and do their own little thing in a corner, or, they want to play wall ball with each other. So, playground can just look, it's, you're given the same structure, but kids can make it their own, for that time period that they're in that area. So I think that's like a big similarity. I think recess is something we all looked forward to when we were in school. It was just a time where we just didn't have a teacher telling us what to do. We could really be creative in our own right for that time that we got to be outside. I think the biggest difference now, though, is that, technology just was not a huge thing. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have portable video games that we could take with us. So it would just be interesting when I would give kids that opportunity to be outdoors and to just kind of unplug from everything. How a lot of kids really just chose to unplug, but in their cell phone, and kind of ignore the fact that there's friends around you that want to play with you, or not everyone can be on a cell phone at one time or playing on a video game at one time. So play could still mean, I'm sitting outside, but I just want to be invested in my device that's sitting in front of me. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference, is that kids may not always have the biggest appreciation for the outdoors because they'd rather be, playing whatever's the coolest game at the moment on their devices.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, and I'm finding it interesting. Some people who we did give the option for people to put out an idea for a topic or questions before we started this live, and a couple of the themes that other people wanted us to touch on, which we can only do within what we know and our personal experiences, not from like that'll make sense in a second. But they wanted us to touch on mental health and community, like still maintaining community in times of COVID. So those, like the mental health, we can touch on, but I want to also emphasize that we're not mental health professionals. So we're only speaking from our own experiences and what we're observing. We're not like giving advice for people. But something that's interesting is over the past year, the increase in all of our exposure to screen time has been intense. And children who were once going to school, going to a class, like going into a classroom and being in a building and having access to the outdoors for recess on the playground and stuff, all of that is so different. And particularly like so many hours of school is now on a screen. And that, I mean, it can go in one of two ways, but I'm almost seeing like it's oversaturation, where some of the kids that I'm working with are like, I don't want any more time on a screen. I just want with my friends in the woods. Right. So, and I see a comment coming in. Sometimes I think that kids tune into their devices because they're uncertain about how to really engage. Yeah, that's a great, because the skills, like those are social skills. They call it skills for a reason. You have to learn them.
No, exactly. And, kids will like to make their rules in their own rights for, how they are wanting to play a game or what role they think someone should play while playing a game, and not everyone agrees, or they don't want to follow that rule. So I definitely agree that the ages and the games that are being played aren't necessarily for everyone. And if you don't have the skills, if you don't have the comfortability to go and ask someone to join, it's sometimes going to be easier to sit down on the side and sort of watch instead of just joining and saying, I just want to have a good time. I want to make some new friends.
Yeah. And even like the games and the apps and all of that, they're designed for us, to not want to leave them. Like they're designed for
Right.
in a lot of ways because they want us to spend more time. Like even Instagram, and here we are participating in that. You all on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So to break away, like I sometimes struggle to break away from my device as an adult who consciously knows that I do need time away from a screen. So imagine, that's the challenge as a child as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm thankful that my daughter is young enough at this point that, me bringing her outdoors and giving her the roam of the land is pretty nice. She doesn't necessarily find interest in playing with other kids a lot at this age. She likes to just kind of be on her own, and I don't know, she just likes to play in dirt. She just likes to pick up sticks and rocks and just kind of explore what that is in her own right. So it is interesting to see how she goes out. She's only 2, but it's fun to just sort of observe how she interacts with the outdoors, and sometimes with others, sometimes not with others. But I know that just her wheels are turning to figure out, what's happening around her, and I guess finding the certainty before she, maybe tries to join in with other kids, or just feels like, yes, I want to engage on my own right now, and I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I want to explore on my own.
Yeah. So maybe we can transition to like, I just wanted to ask, why do you feel it's important to provide this outdoor time for your daughter?
I personally love the outdoors. My husband loves the outdoors. I feel the best when I've been outside. So I think that part of me imposing that on her is because I want her to love the outdoors as much as we do, especially as she does get older. I want her to enjoy going on walks and going on hikes and adventuring to new places and spaces, and just having a common respect too for the land. We grew up in Hawaii, where learning about the land was part of everyday life. It was a huge part of what has shaped, I think, our outlook on just the outdoors. So I think that just having a healthy respect for the outdoors and the different places and spaces that you are in is going to, I don't know, just help develop, a stronger relation with being outside. I think that it's important for her to be in the sun as well, and to just break away. It's funny, like she probably itches to get outside more than I do half these days, just because she does just enjoy the I think probably what it feels a little bit boundless for her to be outside, whereas she knows what a door means in front of her. It means don't go in there, especially if it's closed. She doesn't like that. She wants to go wherever her little heart tells her. So it's me being outside is just a healthy way for her to grow and develop, and to just, have a good outlook on life, and to have a healthy affinity for the lands, and just to have a different environment to be in, and just to know that technology is not the only thing to keep you entertained.
Yeah, I think you really, really touched on why it's important for me. I mean, my whole work is dedicated to advocating for time outside, and there's a multitude of reasons for that, and why I think our childhood and the memories that we just shared at the beginning of this is definitely part of why I do the work that I do today. And so I see childhood experiences as really formative for how we then think and behave as adults.
Right.
I think like what you mentioned is really, it's about our health as humans. It definitely, time outside does, and the research is there. It immensely improves health and well-being, mental health and physical health. When we're active, like actually moving and moving our bodies and not just sedentary, that obviously is going to be better. better
Yeah.
for our health. And then just spending time in sunshine, like vitamin
Mhm.
D, those things are super important for our health. But it's also, I see it as also reciprocal, where by building those relationships with the outdoors and the land,
Mhm.
it's then a relationship. It's not just
Yeah.
to like, I'm taking from you to get what I need. You're
Right.
recognizing that you also have to be giving back because it's mutual. Like
Yeah.
if you look after the space, then and the outdoors, then it's also going to look after you, and that like loop has to be in place. And I feel like that loop is pretty severed
Mhm.
culturally for us, in general, and in our Western cultures anyway, that it's kind of just like, just take what you want and for your own sake
Yeah.
from the land, and
Yeah.
it's not alive and it doesn't really matter. But the reality is like,
Right.
and we kind of depend on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, just
the
a
exposure.
lot of creation stories too, just about the land and about how things came into fruition. It just comes from the earth itself, and I think it's super important that we always leave spaces and places cleaner, than it was when we maybe arrived to them, just because we are visitors in a lot of the areas that we go to. And I want our future, whether it's my kids, your kids, anyone's kids, relatives, like they deserve to be able to enjoy the places that we're enjoying now and the beauty of outdoor now, for future generations. I really don't want anything to be eroded or, be limited for future peoples, because they deserve to enjoy these areas the way that we have. And yeah, I just believe in keeping those spaces as protected as possible, I guess, if that's the right word, just so that we can keep having them there for future generations to use.
Yeah, yeah, and for them to live in their own right too.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Well, that's I feel like that's, yeah, touched on a lot of the themes that we wanted to share with people today. If anyone
Mm.
that's watching has any further questions or comments at this point, you'd be welcome to share them.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the people watching, or looking at the recording later?
Just a saying that we grew up with in Hawaii was Malama Ika Aina, is just care and protect the land. And that, again, is going to look different for everyone in the different kinds of spaces and places that they're in. But I just implore those of you to do your part into, taking care of what is around us. And, also make it a point to teach those around you, why the spaces and places that you're in are important. And also just take the time, if you can, to get outside. I know, getting outside is different for everyone, and accessibility is different for everyone, but I do believe that nature is not defined by any one thing or another, and it's meant for everyone to enjoy. So whether you have to travel 20 minutes or maybe 20 miles, I implore those of you to just find ways to connect with the outdoors and to soak up the beauty that's all around us, because it's not always going to be there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, and also for those of us who do have privilege, for us to work really hard to break down the barriers that others do face. I think that's what's
Yeah.
really, really important to me is
Yeah.
I do get to spend time outside every day. I have a car. I live in a suburban area, so I'm not, I'm not in the countryside, but I can jump in my car and I can be on a trail within 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so I think for those of us who do have privilege, to also remember that we have a responsibility to help and break down those barriers for other people too, as much as we can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone who's here, and for everyone who might watch this later. Oh, I do see a comment coming in. Hi,
Yes.
Brent. Brent says, if accessibility is an issue, even making a connection with a houseplant can start you on the path of connection. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's actually something I was just talking to somebody about this, because I've traveled so much and lived in lots of different places, and there was a big period of time where I didn't really have like a permanent home. I wasn't even renting. I was like transitioning between summer job to then spending time living with friends in England, and then coming back for like another temporary position, another job, and all over the place, and then staying with friends in LA. And I didn't have, like, I just lived out of a suitcase for years, really. And then I remember I moved I moved into my now husband's mom's house when we finally like settled for a second, and we had to live with her for about 9 months. And I got my first like windowsill planter, and
Yeah.
that's all I had. I had like 4 little pots that I planted herbs in, and for me it was like, oh, that
Yeah.
having just that
Yeah.
connection to grow something, even though it's just a windowsill, was huge.
Right.
So yeah, there are ways definitely if you can't necessarily get out and about. Yeah.
Yeah. Go
Cool. Well,
do what
thanks
we
for
do. Go to
that.
Lowe's, buy a plant every Sunday if you
Yeah,
have
you've got a plant loving partner, so you
to.
definitely
Yes.
have lots of house plants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who joined us for this chat on a Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon where I am. Might be evening or even morning wherever you are. But thanks for taking the time. And thank you, Chelsea, for jumping on and doing this with me.
Yeah.
It's always nice to be able to work together as sisters. That's been really special for me. So I'm glad you could do
Definitely.
this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for incorporating me in your day to day. It's nice to get out of childhood mentality and like caring for a child every day, and to have these conversations and to just hear even the interactive questions from the guests joining us. It's really a great thought process to get onto. So I appreciate everyone's input and for joining us, and I hope that people can take something away from this and just utilize it for their own sakes, and find something positive to take away from this conversation today.
Yeah, totally. And definitely give Chelsea a follow on Instagram if you want to see what she's up to. And let's carry on these conversations in the comments. And let's, yeah, just keep it going. And maybe we'll plan another one of these somewhere down the line as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as the seasons are changing, there's always something new to probably talk about outdoors wise.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, I guess we'll leave it there. We'll say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.